So what if you're going through something right now, and that thing that feels so painful and so difficult and so wrong, what if that thing is what's positioning you to ascend to become the prime minister of your assignment? I told you I'm going to show you the real goal setting method. And so here's what the real goal setting method looks like. Number one, I ask myself, what are the results that I desire? So I start with the results. Now most people do that, but that's like that. They expect the results to do the magic. The results don't do the magic. After I set the results, which by the way, I need to make sure that the results are clear, very crystal clear. I need to make sure that they are specific. And by clear, I mean you can clearly see that outcome being experienced. By specific, I mean it needs to be like 125 mile an hour club head speed is a very measurable result. Does that make sense? Okay. And then lastly, if you don't have this one, it doesn't matter if you have those other two. It needs to be believable by you. You need to be able to believe it. If you set a goal that you don't believe will happen, all you're doing is announcing to yourself first and everybody else afterwards that you are a fraud. Because you don't even believe in it. Now, so that's number one, results. Number two is I need to evaluate, evaluate what steps or the inputs, evaluate the inputs that are going to produce that output. And when I evaluate the input, I'm going to ask a couple of things. Number one, what are the perceptions that I have to have in order to achieve this result? What do I have to be aware of? Okay, when I say perceptions, I mean, what do I have to be aware of? I have to be aware of how much it's going to cost, time, effort, energy, and money. I have to be aware of whether or not I currently have the ability to pay, or am I willing to develop the ability to pay. I have to become aware of how long it will take realistically based on the amount of time, effort, and energy I have to put into the input, right? Like people say, well, what's your goal for between now and the end of the year? I want to make $1 million, right? But you're not even making 100,000. That's silly because you don't have the ability to believe that, right? So evaluate the inputs. So one, or A, is evaluate the perceptions that produce that input. Because the reality is, in order for you to achieve the thing that you desire to achieve, you have to believe what somebody who achieves that believes in order to believe it. In order to achieve it. Right? And those beliefs are very different. Like, for instance, one of the beliefs that I can't afford is I can't afford to believe that I can't afford anything. Okay? Now, what do I mean I can't afford to believe I can't afford anything? Because as soon as I believe that I can't afford something, now I've made that thing bigger than my ability. I've made that thing greater than the infinite capacity of creativity that God installed in me when He created me. So I can't afford to believe that I can't afford anything. I can't afford to believe that anything's impossible for me, except that something might be impossible for me. That's the only thing I can afford to believe is impossible for me. Can y'all see that's a very different belief? It's so interesting. And I'm always fascinated by this. Like when you believe something so wholeheartedly that it kind of oozes out of you incidentally. Like people ask me, how are you doing? Or they say, how's your day? My answer is going to be always the same thing. Every day of my life is a great day. Today is no exception. Do you know what people do? They laugh. I'm like, what's so funny about that? It's fun, but it ain't funny. Well, the reason they think it's funny is because they believe that's impossible. It's impossible. Every day of your life can't be a great day. What do you mean? Every day of my life can't be a great day. Every day of my life is a great day. Yeah, I have some days that have painful stuff in them. Yeah, I have some days that have difficult stuff. Still a great day. What are we talking about, people? Anyway, we're talking about a perception. See, it's a different kind of perception, isn't it? Then the perception, woe is me, I'm having such a bad day because all these bad things happen. You ain't smart enough to know if the thing that happened to you is bad. Quit tripping. How do I know that you're not smart enough to know if the thing that happened to you is bad? Well, think about Joseph. Joseph is hated by his brothers. Why? Because of his dream, because of his words. They hated him so much they wanted to kill him. He said, one of them said, let's don't kill him. Let's just throw him in a pit. Then some slave traders came out, took him out of the pit, took him down to Egypt, sold him to Potiphar. Now he's a slave. What? You go from being the favorite, the pet, the favorite child, to being a slave in a foreign country where you may or may not speak the language. And then, as if that's not bad enough, Potiphar's wife tries to seduce him. He said, I ain't having it. So she lies on him and gets him thrown in prison for a crime he didn't commit. As if that's not bad enough, he interprets the dream of the butler and the baker, and he told the butler, when you're restored to your post, don't forget about me. The butler got out of prison and said, Joe, who? Oh, Joseph said, but all these bad things happened. My brothers threw me in a pit, and then I got sold as a slave, and then I got thrown in prison for a crime I didn't commit, and then the butler forgot about me. And here I am in this prison. I'm never going to get out, right? That could have been his perspective. Here's my question. Would that have been your perspective? You don't have to answer. Just think about it. Would that have been your perspective? Do you have a tendency to believe more in things that are working against you, seemingly, than things that are working for you? What if Joseph would have gotten out of prison when the day after the butler got out? Well, here's what would have happened. He probably would have been on his way back to his family. Or he probably would have been a slave for somebody else. But the reality is, he wouldn't have been in the prison still when Pharaoh had his dream. And so he had to stay in the difficult place, in the dark place, in the damp place, for a crime he didn't commit, so that when what God had ready for him was ready, Joseph would already be ready in the right place for it, even though that right place didn't feel good. Was the prison a bad place for Joseph to be? It was the only place for Joseph to be, which means it was the best place for him to be, even though it was the worst feeling place for him to be. I think we're so confused. We think, like, how many times in your life have you looked at something and said, this is so terrible, only to find out later it was one of the best things that could have ever happened for you? Okay. So, when it comes to inputs, what are the perceptions? B, what are the practices that you need to iterate? What are the practices that are required to make this happen? Here's what's really interesting about practice. The reason they call it practice is because you do it over and over and over and over again. I like the word iterations. You have to have a lot of iterations. See, you want to be great at something with 7.5 iterations. Good luck. A couple years ago, I shot this video for one of my coaching programs. It was a coaching call, and I was on vacation in Pennsylvania on a business trip, and I shot this video for the members of my coaching program, and that week my son asked me a question. He's like, Dad, all these people want the same results you've gotten without having to go through all the things you had to go through to get these results. So what are you talking about? He's like, let me ask you a question. When was the last week of your life that went by where you did not do some form of public speaking? I literally could not remember, but it had probably been decades. That's a lot of iterations. Like, when people have a lot of iterations, they make difficult things look easy. When you have a lot of iterations, you will make difficult things look easy, because they're only difficult, watch this now, until they become easy. And the only way they become easy is with iterations. We've gotten so used to microwaves and drive-throughs. We want drive-through success and microwave achievement, and it's like we want to push a couple of buttons and all of a sudden it's done. It's not how it works. And then the next question is, you evaluate what people are necessary. Because sometimes the missing ingredient, the missing input is a person. I remember when I first got started in what we used to call the seminar business back in 2001. And I met this man named Jerry. And he and I were, my other friend Stan asked me to have Jerry speak at an event that I had, and I had an event scheduled with a friend of mine who had a marketing company. This friend of mine paid me, I think, $25,000 or $20,000 back then to speak to his group of people. There were like 35 people there. So I'm like, okay, I'll go ahead and do this. And then I was allowed to make an offer, so I made an offer. I did a presentation, but my friend Stan said, you should have Jerry. Jerry lives really close there. You should have Jerry speak. And back then, I didn't have a prosperity consciousness at all. It was like, why would I have Jerry speak? It's my event, it's not his. That's what I said. But he kept like, no, Myron, I'm telling you, you should let Jerry speak. So Stan, for me, was one of those people. Because I couldn't see the value of that. I let Jerry speak. So Jerry came down, he spoke, he made an offer. He did like $3,500 in sales. I did like $350 in sales. And these were people I knew he'd never seen them before. Jerry's like, hey, man, you're flying out of Dallas tomorrow, right? I'm like, yeah. He said, well, if you get there early, what time are you leaving? I said, I don't know, but 2 o'clock. He said, if you get there early, let's have lunch, and I'll show you some things about the seminar business. So we get there, me and Stan and Jerry, we get there, meet him for lunch. He spends 2 hours with us breaking down this business. And so many of the things I've learned and so many of the connections that I made early on in this business, I made them because I was connected with the right people. It's so fast. See, no man is an island. Do you realize that God 7 times in Genesis chapter 1 said, and it was good, and it was good, it was good, it was good, it was good, 7 times. The 8th time, he was talking about gold, Genesis chapter 2. When God created everything, there's only one thing he said it wasn't good. It's not good for man to be alone. It's not good for people to be alone. Yes, let's talk about, he needed a wife, but it's more than that. People need people. I was having a conversation with my wife yesterday. I said, babe, have you ever thought about how many people had to live and learn and create and build and do for us to experience things we take for granted all day long? Somebody built all the roads from here to there. Wherever you're here, wherever you're there is, somebody built all those roads. They spent their lives designing and building those roads. Somebody spent all their life designing a personal computer and a phone and a car that had air conditioning so we could be cool in Florida in the summertime. Like literally millions times millions of people, well, maybe not millions times millions, but millions and millions of people had to live and learn and build and create in order for us to experience things we take for granted all day long. Because it's not good for a man to be alone. People are, like relationships are one of the most amazing, magnified, multiplied leverage points that we can have in our lives. And if you want to exist on an island somewhere and you don't like people, like I get being an introvert. I'm an introvert. And I know y'all think that people don't believe me, but I'm really an introvert. If you see me you could probably tell when I was at your baptism that I'm an introvert, right? Right? I'm just kind of like. Like if I'm in my environment, I'm not an introvert because I'm supposed to make something happen. But if I'm in somebody else's environment, I don't need anybody to recognize me. I don't need anybody to see me. I can sit in the booth in the back in the corner of the dark, be just as happy. Wallflower Myron. What kind of flower are you? I'm a wallflower. My name is Myron. I'm Myron the wallflower, right? But I like people, but I'm not a social butterfly, right? But I like people. And so I just find it, I don't know. I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. Okay? So who are the people? I think about David Mitchell, and all of the things I learned just by watching him, because he was my first friend that was like wealthy, and he had beliefs that were totally different than all of the people who talked about wealth but never had it believed. And so, who are the people? Okay, y'all get it. So, and then next is, what are the action steps? What are the actions I have to take in order to get there? I've got to act. So I find out the inputs, and then I act on the inputs. Now, most people, what they think they're acting on this. Acting on this does not help you reach your goal. Acting on these, acting on inputs. helps you reach your goal. Acting on inputs helps you reach your goal. Like, evaluate the inputs. Like, what are the perceptions? Okay, now I'm going to start believing this. How do you make yourself start believing something? Well, I don't know what you do. Here's what I do. If I find something that I need to believe and I don't believe it, and I want to install the belief, I'm going to write down the ideal belief on a piece of paper, and I'm going to read that belief out loud. Why? Because faith cometh by what? Hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So when I'm saying the same thing to myself that God has already said to me, I can uninstall a belief that's a doubt and install a new belief that's faith, because faith and doubt are both belief. Doubt is belief in the outcome I don't desire. Faith is belief in the outcome I do desire. So I want to make sure that I uninstall doubt beliefs and install in their place faith beliefs. Are y'all tracking? Okay. So what are action? I have to act on the inputs. I said actions. I should have just put act on inputs. I'm going to erase that. Act. Act on inputs. So when I act on the inputs, there are 3 types of actions I need to take. First of all, I need to act immediately. When I find an input that's going to produce my output, I act immediately. When is immediately? As soon as humanly possible, when I can give it my full intention and my full attention. Right? So immediately doesn't always mean right now. Because sometimes immediately means a month from now. But that's as soon as I can give it my full attention and intention. Does that make sense? Okay. So, immediately. Then, can y'all handle it? Can y'all handle it? I have to act consistently. This is the one people struggle with. Why? Because consistency requires iterations when it feels like the last iterations haven't started working yet. And because disruption follows intention, when I first start working out, I'm not going to feel stronger first, I'm going to feel weaker first. Right? Let's say you're going to fast for 7 days. Which days are the hardest? The first 3, first 2, first 3, somewhere in there. First 2 or 3? Hardest. When I get in a cold plunge tank, the hardest part of getting a cold plunge, first 2 minutes. After that, it's easy. Right? So I have to consistently iterate, do the thing consistently over a long enough period of time so that I give eventually an opportunity to be undefeated in my life. Are y'all tracking? I just do it. Just do it. Then I do it again. Then I do it again. Then I do it again. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. Right? I do it consistently. And then, thirdly, I do it intensely. I love the fact that we as human beings have the ability to intensify our actions. Isn't that great? It's like when I go home and work out this afternoon. Like, I know today, I already know I'm going to go home and I'm going to hit, right? High intensity training. I already know I'm going to do that. Why? Because that's what my coach told me to do. You need to do some hit. I'm going to do some hit. And so I'm going to get on my assault bike and I'm going to ride it like a crazy man. And then I'm going to get off and I'm going to get on my tonal and I'm going to hit my tonal like a crazy person. Why? Because, and then I might even get on my rowing machine. Why? Because consistent intensity is hard to beat. Consistency and intensity together as cofactors? What you talking about, Willis? Okay. And then L, I'm going to put L over here, which is number 4. Number 4 are logistics. Logistically map out those steps. Logistically map out your steps. And when you're mapping out your steps, you have to figure out, one, this is where all movement begins. Where am I now? And be honest. Where am I now? B is, where's my desired destination? And then C is, if you don't have these, you're going to quit. What are your lines of demarcation? For me, when I'm when I'm on a fitness journey, like I've got lines of demarcation in my weight. I've got lines of demarcation in my strength. It's so interesting. My fitness coach, he said, I want you to do a test. I'm going to sit in this chair. I'm not going to do the test. Well, I will. I'll do it. He said, how many times can you sit in a chair and stand up without using your hands? I'm like, I don't know. Well, I found out it wasn't very many. It was very, very few. I'm standing up on one leg, but that's not an excuse. That's just the facts, right? I'm standing on one leg. I could do about 16 times. All I'm saying is this, like, have lines of demarcation.